Hey guys, hope everyone is doing well today. So for today's video, I want to talk about the different Pokemon scams that I've seen in the hobby since I've been here. And my goal for this video is to do sort of a pretty brief, pretty quick rundown of all of the scams. And then in future videos, I'm going to be making more in-depth videos on particular scams and how they have been run, and also give some more very specific examples that I've experienced of those scams, so that people can better, arm themselves or defend themselves against those sorts of things. So before jumping in, the first thing is that there are lots of scams in this hobby. There are lots of people trying to frankly steal your money, manipulate your money away from you, manipulate the market, all sorts of things going on. But that's true unfortunately, for every marketplace, particularly unregulated collectible marketplaces. So there are plenty of, and mostly, kind, honest, decent people in this hobby, but there are people who are looking to try and make a quick buck. And then there are also people who are scamming you, but maybe aren't even aware that they're doing it because they don't have the knowledge to know what they're selling is a fake product, for example, or this or that. So the first scam I want to talk about, or the first issue I want to talk about, is fake cards. Big problem in this hobby, and will be a big problem in the future. And as cards become more valuable, you're going to see more fakes. You're also going to very likely see more high-end fakes. And it's going to be a problem, and it's going to be why things like PSA, CGC, BGS, all these sorts of things can become very important, particularly for those high-end cards, because cards, may get to the point where they are very difficult, particularly online or over eBay, to differentiate between what's real and what's not real. Now, a lot of fake cards, and the majority of fake cards I've seen, are quite easy to tell that they are fake for me, for someone who's been in the hobby a while. But when I first started in the hobby, I actually fell for, or I did end up catching the fake eventually, but initially I bought an eBay lot that had some fakes in it, some fake like hyper rare, rainbow rare cards in it. And I didn't know that they were fake through the screen. Now I would have been able to probably tell, because I have some better techniques for figuring that out, and some better instincts also for figuring that out. But at the time, it was a low price, and I was pretty excited, and the card said real in the description. And so either the person was intentionally scamming me, which is very likely, or they also didn't know that those cards are real, which is also possibly likely, because newer collectors do sell to other newer collectors, and they sell those fake cards around without realizing that they're actually fake. So I'm going to be making a whole video on fake cards specifically, because it deserves a lot of conversation, because there are sort of like higher end, more difficult fakes, I think, to see, and then there are your really obvious and easy fakes. But I'm just gonna go do a rundown of the things that I look for. So fake cards will have, from what I've seen, fake cards will have different text issues. They'll have like very obvious things like misspellings, blurred text. They'll have like completely incorrect text, like text that wasn't supposed to be there, or like the wrong move set, or the wrong HP, or the wrong attack, those sorts of things. They will have like foiling issues. Another very common one I see like they'll have foiling on, like a card that isn't supposed to have foiling will have foiling, or a card that is only supposed to have foiling in the picture will have foiling in the body of the card and on the text of the card, or the foil pattern is incorrect. The foil pattern is supposed to look a certain way, but it actually looks, different than what it's supposed to. And so all of those things do take experience to figure out, but the foiling patterns are often very similar across like generations of a card. And so when you start, like if you pull up images on eBay of real cards, or hopefully you have real cards in your collection, you can look at those real, like for instance, like Wizards of the Coast, like you can look at those hollow cards and see what they look like, get a feel for them. And when you touch a lot of real cards and see a lot of real cards, it'll be much easier to differentiate and figure out what is a mistake here, or what is fake here and what isn't. So those foiling issues are important. Size of the card issues is another thing. I've seen a lot of fakes that are like smaller than a normal Pokemon card. I've run into that a lot. Texture issues, particularly on your on your newer cards. So for example, like those fakes that I got, the reason that I was able to figure out why those hyper rares were fakes is because they had no texture. They were smooth, and that's an issue because all those full arts, those modern full art cards, are supposed to have texture on them. So that's a very common one I see. So issues in coloring is a really good one, particularly for your higher end fakes. What I've seen is they don't quite get the coloring right. They may get some of those other element right, particularly fakes of cards that don't have a holo. The holo, it's pretty rare that I see good fakes, good holo fakes. I do see a lot of pretty good, like, common, uncommon, like WotC first edition, like base set fake, for example. Like I've seen some of those fakes, some jungle fakes, some of those other fakes, and when you don't have to mimic the holo pattern, it can be easier to get one over on you. And what I have seen is that color is a good way to differentiate. So often the yellow border on the card will be duller on the fake, and particularly on the back, if you flip the card over, there's more of like a royal blue, a like deeper blue color on the real one than on the fake one. And I'm gonna hopefully go more into detail in a fuller video on all of those sorts of things, but just to give you a couple of things to think about. And again, it comes with experience, seeing a lot of real cards. So, a big piece of advice here is don't buy very expensive cards before you can tell what's fake and what's not. That would be, don't jump into the hobby, spend a lot of money on a bunch of cards before you know what is fake and what isn't. You have to have that patience, do that research, and start looking at lots of real cards from like reputable sellers. And starting to buy from reputable sellers to get those actual cards so that you can build a collection of real cards and then compare them and contrast them is a good way of doing that going forward. All right. So I guess two more things. So they can have an issue in thickness. I've seen generally the fake cards can be quite thin and cheap feeling. Pokemon cards have a sort of thick feeling too, and that's because they have different layers in their in the way the Pokemon card is built. Like if you rip a Pokemon card in half, you'll see those different layers and like a black layer inside. And I'll go more into detail in the future. But when you take a fake card, there's just a flimsiness compared to that real card. So if you have a real card and a potential fake card, you can move it around a little bit and feel that difference. And then, going off of that and continuing to go off of that, issues in the feel, whether it's like glossiness or that lack of rigidness, and can be quite easy to bend. So I think that's a pretty good overview of fake cards, and will definitely be one of the longest explanations on this video. So next thing I want to talk about is resealed packs and booster boxes. Okay. Huge problem, huge issue in this hobby. I've seen it both in modern and I've seen it in vintage. And obviously in vintage, it can cost people huge amounts of money and can be a huge problem. And sadly, there are people sitting on booster boxes right now, vintage booster boxes right now, that they probably think are real that may not be real. And they're gonna find that out like way after, the period in which maybe they could try and hunt the guy down who scammed them. They're gonna find it out way in the future. And that's happened to even like really some very like expert level big name people in the hobby that's happened to. And so it's a real danger whenever you're buying booster boxes, getting them authenticated by, either you're buying them from a reputable seller who's like authenticated it, to the best of their ability because they've seen a lot of that product. A lot of the big, and I am not an expert in booster boxes, so I don't want to be careful not to give you guys the wrong information, but my understanding is, generally the wrapper is very important, in terms of like how tight it's sealed, in terms of the way it's sealed. There are a lot of different marks, and I personally would never verify a booster box because I don't have that skill set or ability. But going to people like TCA Gaming, I think that James from ZG Emporium is now seeing lots of boxes and has dealt in boxes for a while and is going to have some instincts there. But, you know, it's a lot of money to spend on a vintage box, and just knowing that it's actually real is very important. You know, so the common thing will be that they'll buy sort of a real box and then fill it with, like, you know, pack wrappers that basically look real, so that when you peer in the box, to check to see are the wrappers, are the packs real, it'll look somewhat real, because they'll tape it back up or glue it back up around like modern cards or fake, you know, or other sorts of cards. And the scams can get pretty difficult to spot. And so it's sort of like good luck out there. I hope that it'd be nice if PSA graded. Honestly, I think if PSA graded boxes sometime in the future, so we could be more confident. But again, maybe they don't know, maybe they don't feel comfortable, you know, in determining what's real and what's not. And it's just something that is an issue and will be an ongoing issue in the hobby. In terms of like resealed packs, that also happens, and resealed vintage packs, and certainly modern packs. I know that people like go to Walmart and like open packs, take out the good cards, and then like reseal the packs. Like, I've seen videos on that. I've seen people do that. I've never opened anything from Walmart myself and had that issue, but I do know it happens. You know, terrible stuff. You know, the people are, and particularly on that new stuff where it's like not even that much money, it just boggles my mind how people are that, honestly, that terrible. Like, that they would basically steal, you know, a few dollars. And I mean, it's horrible to do that on vintage. And I'm certainly not using that to justify that they're going to make a lot of money on it. But it's like, you're literally like, kids are probably going to open these packs and you're going to ruin their day. It's horrible. But I mean, it's horrible in the vintage market. It's the fact that people do this stuff and are willing to try to get one over on someone to make a profit on them is really gross and disgusting. And so we need to find those people in the hobby. We need to try to put their names out there as much as possible, and I think try to stop them as a community. So yeah, so resealed packs and booster boxes. Again, I will try and do more research and make a more full video on that also on this channel. So another one I see is selling weighed light packs as unweighed, or selling packs that you didn't personally pull from a booster box as unweighed. You can't, like, I don't think that's very ethical. When I see unweighed, I want it to be that you got that, you know where that came from. You know it came from fresh from a booster box, and so it's unweighed. So I see a lot of that. I see people, you know, clearly scamming others on that. They will weigh all of their packs and sell them as unweighed when they know that they are weighed and that they're light. So you have to watch out for that. So some of the other scams I see are away from sort of those fake type scams are pack openings on streams are a scam if the person who is opening those packs, and when I say pack openings on stream, I mean they are opening those packs for you. So you pay them money and then they open the pack. That is a scam unless the person, to me, is very clear that you are doing that for an experience and you are very likely to lose money. That is a scam, because you are very, very likely to lose a lot of money. And even if you get hits in those cards with how expensive packs are right now, unless it grades a 10, which is very unlikely, it's most likely going to grade a 9 or lower, you are going to very likely lose money, even when you get hits. And so the only person who's actually making money on that is the person doing the opening. And they also get the ad revenue for their channel, and they get to build their brand and all that sort of stuff. And that is all completely fine to me, as long as people are doing it for the experience, right? I want to open cards with other people. I want to see my cards opened by someone I really like, by a really cool streamer, and I want to be involved in that community. But but I've seen people who open packs on channels try to manipulate their customers by saying that it's like a pretty good way to make money, or you can get both fun and also very likely to make money because this booster pack is really undervalued right now for this and this reason, and often the reasons are really irrational and terrible. So again, if you want to open a booster pack on one of those streams, by all means do it, because it can be fun and a great experience, and you can have your, you can have a video made, a YouTube video made of that experience. I don't get it, because I would rather just buy the booster packs for cheaper, from someone who sells unweighed booster packs like Z&G Emporium or, TCA Gaming, these reputable sellers, and then I could make my own video and do that for fun. But people are, I encourage people to do whatever they want to do. But that is a big scam, and I do see some streamers just making an absolute bank off of people who don't get that, who don't understand that, and that really makes me extremely uncomfortable. The next big scam I see is pump and dump type schemes, where a YouTuber, where an Instagram person, where whatever will, and I'm actually going to say it's not just pump and dump right now. I'm seeing also like pump and hold and likely will eventually dump. That people aren't just pumping something and then dumping it immediately, but they are like, this card that I own is a great investment because there's only this amount in the world and this and this and this. And it's like, they're not giving all the reasons why it isn't a good investment, and they're giving very misleading and dishonest information. And I know that that can be very difficult for newer people to figure out like who I should listen to and who I shouldn't listen to. And the best advice I can give you is listen to a lot of people, and listen to a lot of people who have huge collections, who have made, who have been in Pokemon a while, and who also reference and listen to other people. So for example, on this channel, I've interviewed a ton of people, who are big names in the hobby, who have been here forever, TCA Gaming, Charlie Herlocker, like these types of people. And so you wanna listen to people who are sort of like in those types of communities, and give a lot of explanations for why they think something is undervalued, okay? So I wanna separate that from making a video about a card, giving really good reasons why it's undervalued, and then a lot of people going to buy that card. That I also don't like and makes me uncomfortable, but that isn't a pump and dump scheme. That's just someone who bought a lot of something that they thought was undervalued and then talked about it, okay? That's different. But I know for a fact, and I've seen these videos where people are talking about cards that are really should not be valuable at all for a lot of reasons, and they push them up, they hype them up, and the reality of our hobby right now is there are so many new people that are susceptible. They go on a YouTube channel, they see that there are a certain amount of views, and they listen to that person. And that's a huge issue, and I believe we're seeing a lot of movement in certain parts of the market right now because of that, We're seeing that in a lot of those like modern, like promo type cards, like different alternative art cards. We're seeing that in just like general modern cards across the board in a lot of places. We're also seeing that in unlimited base set right now, where like cards are going up hugely in value because people are talking up, how like Charmander and Pikachu from base set are so important to the hobby. And it's like, yes, they absolutely are, and I've seen those videos, but what you're missing is that people have tens of thousands of gem mint versions of those cards in their collections that they've just never graded because there was never a market for unlimited base set. So those types of scams, just be aware of that. The only thing you can really do is get as much knowledge as you can. You have to not be lazy. You have to not look for short, easy answers from people who are hyping their own cards. You have to do a bunch of research and be in the hobby and go on the PSA website and look at like long time past price history on these and get a real sense of like what they were selling for, because those are the majority of collectors who have been in it a long time understand the value a lot better than the new collectors, because they've just been in it longer, and they get like the more of the history of how these cards are becoming valuable over time. They just have more understanding of the market. It just is what it is right now. All right. So the next one I'm going to talk about is shill bidding. Shill bidding is a huge issue. So many people do shill bidding. People, when I made those like market manipulation video I made earlier on in the channel, a lot of people approached me privately and said that they shill bid, and they didn't even realize they were necessarily like shill bidding, or didn't think of it that way. They were doing like, in their mind, like defensive bidding, where they were bidding they were bidding up they were bidding up not their own item, which is sort of like the more gross, icky, obvious shill bidding, but they were bidding up an item that they owned so that it wouldn't sell for lower than they bought it, that sort of thing. And so that is definitely happening in mass. Because a lot of people came and told me that, and I have to imagine there are a lot of people who are doing it who didn't come and told me. So just be aware of that people, because so many people have an investment mindset in this hobby and not a collector mindset. The collector mindset would be like, I just want that card, and it's not a big deal if it goes up and down in value. The investor mindset is I want that card because it's going to go up in value. And when people have that investor mindset, which so many people have right now, they're going to be more susceptible, or they're going to be more likely, is the better word, to do that sort of shill bidding, defensive shill bidding, to keep the appearance of the car that they want to go up in value up. Okay, so how do you protect yourself from that? Experience. It's knowing the prices of these things. It's being able to see patterns. It's being able to, like, I've done things where, even crazy things where I not that crazy, but I look into kind of who bid. I try to track that a little bit. I see if someone has a lot of like retracted bids and they're the one who won it, I'm a little and none of that is sure proof. It's all sort of guessing. I personally err on the side of like very extreme caution in buying in this type of like highly inflated investment, a lot of people trying to invest market, because I think that there's so much need to keep those prices high in people right now. There isn't a lot of like, you hear people saying like, I'd be okay if the cards went down in value, and certainly there are a number of collectors, particularly people I think who have been here a long time, who feel that way. I don't think that is so true of a lot of the newer people. All right. And isn't true of a lot of the older people too, I'm sure. All right. So let's see here. Next thing I'm going to talk about is mystery packs. So I see these being sold. I had someone contact me a couple weeks ago, like, should I buy one of these like mystery lots, one of these mystery packs on eBay? They seem like, can I make money that way, right? They wanted to know if that was like a good investment. It is absolutely not a good investment. The reason that people are selling mystery packs instead of telling you what is inside those packs is because there's a lot of garbage in those packs, or there's a lot of cards that are worth almost nothing, and no one would buy if they just showed you. And so what you're buying is the excitement of the mystery, and they get that, they know that, rather than you're actually buying the value of the card. Now, by all means, if you like that excitement, and you see huge channels like Unlisted Leaf, right? Like Ando loves these mystery boxes, which will be the next one we'll talk about, from sellers. So there's that excitement of not knowing what you're gonna get, but the reality is, like, don't do that for an investment. Do that for an experience. An investment, you should be hand-picking stuff yourself that you think is going to go up in value. You shouldn't be like relying on the kindness of a stranger, of a random person to do like the investing for you, right? Or to do the buying for you. Okay, so I think that hopefully that makes sense to people, and they do that. Particularly a lot of these mystery packs I see on eBay are really terrible. They'll show these like very misleading pictures of all the cards you can get. I mean, it's like cards. We're talking about like snake oil salesman type stuff here. They'll show you all of like the great cards you could get, and then they say, you're gonna get like 200 cards, and you may get one of those cards, but no guarantees. And it's like, there's a guarantee you're not gonna get any of those valuable cards. Okay, I will guarantee that. They're all scams. Because if they actually wanted to sell you those cards, they would just sell you those cards at a fair value and not use them. And also the pictures never change. Those things are up for like a year, and the picture hasn't changed because they haven't gotten rid of any of those. All right, mystery boxes. So mystery boxes, from like, you can get them from like obviously like very reputable sellers like TCA Gaming, very with great reputation, of communication, of honesty. If you buy a box from someone like him, I would feel comfortable that you are going to get the correct value. So if you buy a $1,000 mystery box from him, you would get $1,000 in value, right? Hopefully, and I would trust someone like that to do that. If you buy a mystery box from a random person, they will value their cards at whatever they want to value them at, right? You're trusting them to value their own cards, and they may be like, well, these cards, and I've heard people make insane evaluations of their own cards. So you can't trust that. You can't trust random people. But even getting a box from like TCA Gaming is not a smart move from an investment standpoint, because if I was in Rusty's shoes, like, would I be giving you guys like the stuff I think is going to go up the most in value, like the stuff that's like the things that I don't have doubles of, the things that are truly rare and scarce? No, I'm going to be giving you a lot of like cool product, because he has so much amazing product, but product that I likely have doubles of or triples of or 10 of, right? That does have that value, but I am then choosing what I don't think is probably going to go up the most in the future to give to you, as long as it meets that value. So it's this weird sort of like kind of gray area, and Rusty's like great, right, and super honest and honorable on that sort of stuff. Imagine if you buy it from someone who like probably doesn't have that much care about the Pokemon community and how that's going to go. So buy those if you want to have fun, if you want to just like get a bunch of random things. Do not buy those to make money. It's not a good way to do it. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is raffles and lotteries. All right. Very similar to those mystery pack situations. They are, and those pack opening streams. They are making money off of your gambling need, of you wanting to gamble and have that gambling fun, and that's completely okay, right? Like, I like going to a casino once in a while. I'm not hating on gambling, but just understand what you are doing. You are gambling, and they are rigged in a way, we could say rigged, or rather than rigged, designed in a way that the person who is putting on the raffle or the lottery will always make the most money. Will always make money. Let me put it that way. So if they're raffling off like a very expensive card, one person who wins that card might make the most money because they bought a pretty cheap raffle ticket and now they got a card that's real and actually expensive. But the person who did the raffle, right? But then all those other people who bought tickets will lose, and the person who did the raffle will make a certain profit and a certain amount of money. And I see like anyone who does those raffles, be very careful. I wouldn't trust them unless they are telling you that these raffles, like, they make money off of them. They're very clear about it, and that you will likely lose, right, and lose money. And there's some like really scummy people, frankly, who do a lot of those types of things and try to find ways of doing them. And they make it seem like they're doing it for you and they're doing it for your fun. And like anyone who uses language like that, be very wary of. Now, of course, you can do the math. Like, some people might be doing it like mostly for fun and might be making almost zero profit, and they just like doing it and they like running it. And if you are someone like that, fair enough. But again, if you're buying into those, do the math. It's very easy to do the math. It's like, well, he's selling 45 tickets at $5 each, or let's say 100 tickets at $5 each, so we've got 5, so it's $500. Is the card worth $500? Is the card worth over $500 or under $500? And it's going to be worth under $500 almost every time, and that person is going to make that difference. So the card's only worth $200, so he's going to make $300. So even the person who gets the card, who theoretically makes $195, you see how the raffles works, okay? So please don't fall for that stuff. So many people are, and it's driving me crazy, honestly. That's why I made this channel. All right. So next thing I want to talk about is altered cards. I have never run across them in this hobby. I know that there are lots of them, like in Magic the Gathering, in terms of like inked cards, trim cards. There certainly are those cards in this hobby, and I have heard people have stories of running into those. I don't see them that often compared to like straight up those fake cards. But I'm sure they're there. I'm sure that there are people who are altering cards to make them look, you know, either trimming some of the white off or to make them look, or trimming them to be better centered, you know, or finding like the correct shade of pen or something, or it's hard to imagine that you could do that very well, or the correct ink, right, to color in, you know, some of the whitening or something like that. So that does happen, can be an issue, really scummy, horrible thing that people do. And then, so got two more for you guys. I know it's a long video. There's so many scams, unfortunately. Next scam is we will grade your scam cards. So there are a lot of grading companies that will send, or not even companies, they're just like random people who will grade your cards for a fee and will charge you way more than they should, and also will upcharge you for all sorts of like random nonsense things. And so when you are working with a grading company, you have to do a lot of research on, is this grading company reputable? Not grading company, that's like PSA Beckett, but is the middleman company who's sending your cards to get graded, are they reputable? You know, from what I can tell, like Graded Gem seems to have good prices, like Ludkins has a long, great history. Like those are two names that people seem to like and continue to go back, and they get good service, and the cards aren't stolen, and they don't disappear, and they don't come back damaged, like all of that important stuff. I've seen like these like random people and random streamers like do this for their audience, for people who give them their cards, and they charge, you know, triple, quadruple sometimes the amount that you know, Graded Gem might charge or Ludkins might charge, these sorts of things. And people just do it. People do it because they trust the person, because the person lies to them, manipulates them, because they, you know, one thing I'm seeing right now is because Pokemon has gone up so much in value recently, people are trusting the wrong people who were hyping certain cards, and then those cards went up in value. Because of that hyping, it's this nasty sort of cyclical effect of like, I'm gonna hype up this card, and there are lots of new people who are susceptible to that, who are gonna listen to it. The card is gonna go up in value, and then that is gonna make me look like an expert who you can trust in the future. And that is like such a common scam and things that happen in all sorts of markets all the time. That people get these people think that certain people are experts or know what they're talking about, who really don't, because they don't have good logic, they don't have good reason, they don't have sound like market fundamentals backing up what they're talking about. They're just pushing things through emotion, and then unfortunately when you're in this sort of like investor-driven, many new collector market, enough people listen to it that it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy that then they look like they're right, at least in the short term. In the long term, they will not be right. All right, I feel very confident in that. Okay, and that's the problem, because you might be left holding the bag, right? They may know that they're not right, and they may be selling into it. You just never know. Okay. Or they don't know what they're talking about either, and they're going to lose too. There are probably people like that. So friends and family PayPal payment is the last scam I want to talk about. So people trying to scam you through different payment methods, they want to, you know, if anyone tries to take you, like if you're on eBay and people try to take you off of eBay to go onto Instagram, for example, and sell straight through there to avoid like fees, just be very careful, because they could be trying to scam you. They may just be trying to save fees, and like, you know, obviously eBay like very much frowns on that, but they may be trying to just save on fees, but they may also be planning to scam you because they don't want you to get that eBay protection, that eBay buyer-seller protection. And then if they then ask you to pay, for example, through friends and family, then you're going to have no protection whatsoever. And a lot of people have done that. You know, I would only do that with someone you either genuinely know personally, a huge name in the community who's been doing it forever, maybe, right? Or someone you've dealt with many, many times in the past. But I've even heard horror stories of where like someone has dealt with someone a while for like cheaper items, then gone to a really expensive item, you know, and got hit with that. Let's do friends and family. They did friends and family, and then the guy disappeared. So unfortunately, the moral of this video is that there are a ton of icky, gross, scummy people. Hopefully not a ton. Hopefully not a ton. It's hard to know how many, but you know, even a few can do a ton of damage because they can continue to do things over and over and over again and can do all of these scams a bunch of times. But you know, there are people who are very scummy, who do all of these sorts of things, and then there are people who don't even realize maybe that these things are bad and are hurting people that are doing them. And I think there's a number of people in that category, and I want to try to make videos like this to try and like change their minds on what they're doing maybe, or do it in a way that's kind of more ethical and more upfront with their customers, for example. And then 3, you know, as I've repeated a number of times in this video, because there's so many of those new people coming into the hobby, we as a community need to make a lot of videos like this to try to get it out to people so that people can get that information and then make their own, you know, more informed decisions for themselves. I don't want all of these scam ideas to push you completely out of the hobby. What I preach is patience, knowledge, experience, because if you jump in too quickly and you spend all your money on something that is a scam, it can take you out of the hobby, because either now you've wasted all of your money on something, or you've had such a bad experience that then you've disappeared from the hobby. And I've heard countless stories of people like that who got scammed and left the hobby, and that's just, that stinks for everyone. That's a bad thing for everyone. So again, I will make more videos on some of these topics more in depth in the future. Thank you so much for making it through another long video where I discussed all of these things, but I think it's important. And I would love to hear, you know, as usual, all of your thoughts. If you want to share stories in the comments of your experiences with scams, if you think I missed some scams, please share those, share things that you've seen. I'm sure I have. There are lots of different things that I'm sure people have experienced and seen in the hobby. And I look forward, as always, to reading those comments. And also, if you disagree with some of these and you think some of these are okay, you know, and want to have a debate, I love that stuff too. I love hearing people's genuine thoughts, and because for me, it just helps me become certainly a better like content creator and all that stuff, which is cool. But it also just like helps me with my own Pokemon investing, my own Pokemon strategies, just knowing how people think and what people think. And, you know, I love all that stuff. So thanks again for watching, and I will have another video for you all soon. Take care.